Welcome back to the Hawk's Nest. I am your host, The Hawk. We're doing UFC Shanghai today, and I'm incredibly pumped to be doing this video. I got my mushroom coffee. I'm sipping it. It's coursing through my veins, and I feel like I could take on the world right now. We're going to be doing betting plays. I will give you exactly what I am betting on in this card, and we are going to be doing some fight breakdowns. I picked two prelim fights and the entire main card that we're going to dive into and kind of break down each fight. Now, some fights will get a little bit more in-depth breakdown. Some fights will be a little bit more of a brief breakdown. For example, Bilal Hasan fight. I didn't go too in-depth on that fight. I don't think there's that much to talk about in that matchup. It's going to be a fun fight, but it's a little bit more brief compared to the main event and some other plays that I like. The reason we're not breaking down every single fight is because I want this to be interesting. I want it to be entertaining. It's the fights that I like the most, and it's the fights that I'm really putting plays on when I'm betting. I will be doing full card predictions, though. At the end, I will put in a graphic that has my predictions. It'll be the entire card, and I'll circle who I think is going to win. Now, another aspect of this UFC Shanghai card is the wonky start time over here in America. I'm in the central time zone, so I think the card starts at 3 a.m. 3 a.m., that is a crazy start time. I have been debating back and forth all week. Am I going to wake up early and watch the entire card live, which is what I prefer to do? Or am I going to sleep in a little bit and then I'll be doing it during the main card but rewatch from the beginning? Should I wake up, start when the main card starts, which I believe is 5 a.m. here? That's more doable than 3 a.m. It seems a little bit more doable. Should I wake up during that time, watch those fights, and then go back to the prelims? But then I gotta avoid spoilers, and they might talk about some of the prelim fights during the main event or during the main card. I don't know. I'm torn on it. I'm probably just gonna try and get to bed early, wake up at 3 a.m., energy drink, coffee, and just roll through it. Just roll through it. I will be live tweeting during the fights if you want to follow me on Twitter at HawksNestMMA. It's gonna be a fun time. I'm actually pretty excited for this card, although betting-wise, it was a little bit of a weird card and a hard card to read, in my opinion. Some of these matchups are just very interesting in a good way, and I could see it going either way, but the odds are inflated, and it is a very interesting card. So, without further ado, let's hop straight into it. First fight up on the docket here, we got Jack Jenkins versus Sean Woodson. This is one of my most anticipated fights on this card. Reason being is I think it's so interesting stylistically. I think they both have an easy path to victory, but yet their path is also countered to the advantage of the other fighter and vice versa. So they both have paths to victory, and they both have counters to each other's paths to victory. And that's what makes it so interesting to me. I personally like Jack Jenkins as an underdog here. And I think it's a little bit more technical than just saying he throws really hard leg kicks, which is the number one basis of why I think he's going to win this fight, but it gets a little bit more technical than that. Woodson's physical advantages and dimensions that he has are his greatest advantage, but they also create a very specific target for Jenkins' best weapon. Woodson's 6'2", 78-inch reach, 44-inch leg reach. Jenkins only 5'7", 68-inch reach, so a 10-inch reach disadvantage, and 38-inch leg reach. So why am I taking Jenkins? Well, I'll start off by saying Jenkins, I don't think he can't approach this as a conventional boxing match. It's not going to end well. If he stands at Woodson's preferred range and tries to win jab for jab, he's really just playing exactly into that 10-inch reach disadvantage. In Woodson, he lands 5.57 significant strikes per minute and has built his game around that long range volume, staying at a range, picking people apart, and then doing some damage when they try and close. Jenkins' path to victory is about attacking Woodson's stance and taking away the range before even trying to win any exchanges with the hands. I don't think Jenkins should come out here and try and win with the hands right away. I think he should invest in the leg kicks heavily, and I think he will do that. I think he has to do that. I mean, if you're his coach and you're breaking it down and we're looking at every aspect of it, I think the game plan has to be come out and attack the legs right away, first round, use it as an investment for later in the fight. So it starts with the calf, it starts with the outside thigh, and Woodson's extremely long frame, which would be his advantage, gives Jenkins a huge amount of real estate to find home for those kicks. But more importantly, Woodson is going to need that base underneath him to make his boxing work, which is what he wants to do. He's going to want to establish the range. He's going to want to plant down on those legs and extend combinations and then move out. Use movement. Now, if your legs are compromised, it makes it much harder to do. Much, much harder to do. Jenkins, again, he doesn't need to beat him with the hands initially. Beat the feet round one, and that'll help you beat with the hands. Jenkins is exceptionally well equipped to beat the feet, right? Why does it sound like beat the feet? Like it just sounds like I'm like rapping or something. But Jenkins is equipped to do that, right? He has a history of really good low kicks. He has a history of a TKO win by leg kick. And Jenkins, watching Jenkins interviews, he knows that people are going to plan for his leg kicks, but he still finds a way to make them work. It's easy to say you're going to stop Jenkins' leg kicks until you actually get in there with him and see how he implements them. So against an unusually tall opponent, the head's going to be difficult to reach for him cleanly on initial entry, but guess what isn't? His torso and his legs. Jenkins can kick the legs from the outside, step underneath, and attack the body. And that's where I think some of that height disadvantage that Jenkins has can actually turn into an advantage. Kick the legs, snipe those. As Woodson's throwing 1-2s or jabs, you're already low enough. Just duck under a little bit and attack the body vigorously. That's how I see Jenkins winning this fight. Come out, kick the legs, compromise the base, right? Slip those punches, 1-2 to the body, hooks to the body, liver shot, back out. Readjust. Okay? Now, round one, I think Jenkins loses. And I don't think that's a problem for him. I think what he should do is realize he's going to get hit, already have that mentality as he goes in, attack the legs. He should throw 40 leg kicks in that first round. But he's got to mix it up. It can't just be outside calf kicks. It's got to be up to the thigh. It's got to be inside kicks. He's got to feint and throw. He's got to fake leg kicks, feint leg kicks. And he's got to mix it up. He can't just go out there and kick. Right? He's going to start getting checked, and that's going to hurt him, and then that's going to compromise his ability. But if he mixes in the leg kicks, even if he loses round one because he gets outstruck up to the head, those leg kicks are an investment for round 2 and 3. Again, you're taking Woodson's base. The way I see this playing out in my head is exactly that. He invests in those leg kicks early, and then you see Woodson start to change stances and get uncomfortable. He starts slowing down. His output significantly decreases because he's worried about the leg kicks. And then I see Jenkins hurting him to the body and finishing him. That's just how I see this fight playing out. So I really love Jenkins in this fight. And when we get to my betting plays later, you're going to see Jenkins pop up once again. Next up at UFC Shanghai, we got Xiao versus Nuzi. Nuzi's dangerous. Okay, he's got a good technical Muay Thai kicking game. But I think he blindly throws kicks a lot and relies on that a little bit too much. I think Xiao can make this a much messier MMA fight than Nuzi wants to be in. So I'm going with Xiao. In the core of my pick, the first thing I like is his pace and his layered offense. He's landing roughly 5 significant strikes per minute, and his output has actually increased in his UFC career as the fight progresses. His third round significant strike rate is higher than his first round significant strike rate, which matters against an opponent whose professional success has really been a lot of early finishes for Nuzi. So if Xiao can drag this fight out to the second and third round, he only gets stronger, only gets better, only throws more. Let's just say it's 1-1 going into round 3. If that happens on Saturday, I will be very confident in my pick of Xiao Long. Okay, Nuzi wants a cleaner kickboxing match. He's got traditional Muay Thai, sharp kicks. He's got a quick release, hard low kicks. And he wants enough space to get those weapons off. He needs the space. He needs the distance to get those weapons off. I don't think Xiao should give him that in this fight. Xiao should be constantly changing the picture. Just pressure forward, combination, level change, feint, exit at an angle, re-enter, force Nuzi backwards, occasionally actually complete the level change and use grappling, mix that in. That's important because forward pressure can fundamentally change Nuzi in the way he kickboxes. Right? It's harder to throw kicks going backwards. It's less damaging to throw kicks going backwards. And if you can get up in his grill and get in his space, kicks are now ineffective. A fighter throwing kicks when he's set at his preferred range is obviously completely different from a fighter being forced to kick while retreating and resetting. If you can constantly force him to retreat and reset, get in his space, I think it's a long night for Newsy. Now, Xiao has an underrated grappling wrinkle into his game. This is probably the point I'd emphasize most right now. It's not simply Xiao is just more experienced. Okay, he's not an elite offensive wrestler by any means, and you can see that in his takedown numbers, but he doesn't really have to be. When he fought Chang Ho Lee, which is a pretty legit grappling-oriented opponent, Xiao managed 2 takedowns and accumulated 6 minutes of control. That's awesome. That tells me that there's a layer of grappling that is available to Xiao if he mixes it in correctly. Meanwhile, Newsy has previously shown some vulnerability when grappling exchanges do develop. His 2 professional stoppage losses have both come by submission. He's gotten out-grappled. I don't need Xiao to become a wrestler for 15 minutes. I need the threat of his wrestling to compromise Newsy's striking. Now, he's got to level change a couple times and go for it. Even if he doesn't get it, I'm not feeling as confident if he doesn't get it. But if he does get a takedown or 2, that completely changes Newsy's striking. We've seen it before when a striker gets wrestled. It can be the great equalizer because it can make the striker look worse at striking and it can make the wrestler look better at striking. Because you're worried about the takedown. You can't let your hands go as much, otherwise you're getting level changed on. And that's a key distinction, is that we don't need Xiao to be an elite wrestler. We just need him to mix it up. We just need Newsy to be thinking about it. If Newsy knows he can plant his feet and throw kicks without any consequences of a takedown, then I think the fight favors Newsy. But if every big kick carries the possibility of Xiao catching it, kind of just crashing distance, connecting his hands and forcing a clinch or a wrestling exchange, suddenly I think Newsy thinks about every kick that he throws. I think Xiao's body and leg kicks will also interest me in this fight. And there's a very sneaky statistical advantage that I found when researching. So Xiao isn't exclusively headhunting when he's in the UFC. He's 56% head, 26% body, 18% legs. That's a pretty good spread. I like that. He's mixing it up. His body and his leg offense both grade particularly well compared to the relative grading of the division in a statistical model that I found. Like the way they grade him in his striking to the body and leg is it's above average for the division, which is awesome. He's mixing it up. That's exactly the type of fight I want out of Xiao against Newsy. Don't turn this into just a one-dimensional boxing match. You guys are both headhunting, and then he's kicking your legs, and he's doing more than you. If you're just hunting the head, and he's getting headshots in too, he's jabbing, he's throwing 1-2s, and he's leg kicking, he's gonna output you. His pace is gonna, he's gonna have more output than you, and his pace is gonna be a little bit better than you, and he's gonna win via striking advantage. There's also a significant difference in the environments these guys have been really fighting in. Newsy enters 11-2. 8 of his victories have come by stoppage. But this is his UFC debut. He's never fought in the UFC before, and he's taking the matchup on short notice. Xiao is 27-11 and has already accumulated meaningful UFC octagon experience. Now you can look at Xiao's record and be like, I don't know if he's coming into this fight too hot, but I think it's somewhat misleading. His fight against Cody Garbrandt, he was deducted 2 points because of fouls and still only lost 28-27 in all 3 scorecards. I think that, in other words, he basically won the fight. And he was extremely competitive against a former UFC champion. Now, I kind of cringe when I say former UFC champion because obviously Cody Garbrandt is not what he used to be. Father Time's undefeated. It gets everybody. But if we're just looking at facts, he was competitive against a former UFC champion, and that is just a fact. Now, there's other ways of going about thinking about that, but, that's just... I just want to make it clear, though. It's not like Garbrandt is totally a bum, and Xiao was competitive. So I think potentially we're buying Xiao after losses that make his recent form look worse on paper, but his actual performances have actually been pretty good. So I think we're buying him at a good price here. I really do. So let's talk about where Newsy can absolutely win. Again, I would not ignore Newsy's low kicks. They're probably the best weapon he's had, and if I'm Xiao, it's what I'd be most concerned about. He's got a really quick release, and he hits very hard. with the leg kicks, right? And we've seen Xiao fight really squared up before, and that's dangerous against a Muay Thai kicker, right? So if he keeps that same style, I don't know. I think he's got to mix it up a little bit, use a little bit more movement, stop staying so square, make it a little bit easier to check those leg kicks, or just get out of the way. Maybe a back step to circle out. But again, that's dangerous against a Muay Thai kicker if you're just fighting square and you're heavy on your lead leg, right? And you're giving him a really readily available lead leg, which could be where the fight takes a turn. And Xiao can't just march forward recklessly. You got to have educated pressure. Feint your way inside. Don't just enter on a straight line for it to be hit. Crowd newsy before he establishes the kicking range, and occasionally just turn that pressure into grappling. If Xiao simply just stands at kickboxing distance, exchanging low kicks and combinations, I think he's unnecessarily giving Newsy the clearest path to an upset. Why I think Xiao wins, ultimately, I just trust him to win more phases of this fight. Newsy is probably actually the cleaner, pure Muay Thai striker, and, that's okay. MMA isn't just a Muay Thai fight. Xiao has UFC-tested cardio. He has a higher level of experience. He has legitimate volume, good durability, attacks multiple levels, as we talked about earlier, and he possesses enough wrestling and clinch ability to prevent Newsy from comfortably treating this as a striking match. He has just enough wrestling. That's why I'm leaning Xiao. That is my official pick for this fight. Now we get to the main card here. We got Bilal Hasan versus Rojas. This is where I'm going to keep it nice and brief for you guys. This isn't going to be a long prediction here. Hasan is faster. He's longer. And I think he's really good at manipulating the guard of his opponent. He attacks the body, brings their hands down, then explodes upstairs. I think Rojas eventually gets caught trying to close distance. And once Hasan hurts him, his combination finishing is just going to overwhelm Rojas. Give me Hasan by KO or TKO. Probably pretty early in this fight. I won't give it a round, but KO, TKO, I am betting on this card. Now we're moving into Liu versus Rodriguez. This is honestly close to a toss-up for me, but I'm going to slightly lean Liu. He's 6'5", he's got a 78-inch reach, and has a very high-level kickboxing background. I watched some of his K1 fights. He looks dangerous. Now, I didn't look into his opponents, and they didn't really look like the most formidable guys. But his kickboxing looked freaking sick, dude. I thought it was fun to watch some of his fights. He's making his UFC debut. I think he can use his length and his straight shots, and especially his leg kicks, to make Rodriguez work to get inside on him. Now, Rodriguez is going to be dangerous and absolutely has the power to win this. So I'm really not confident at all. But if Liu can keep the kickboxing range and avoid getting dragged into uncomfortable kind of MMA exchanges rather than kickboxing fight, I think his technical striking is just a little bit cleaner. So give me Liu, but this is definitely one I'm not running to the window to bet on. But UFC debut, home soil, give me Liu. I think this next one here is going to make a lot of people doubt what I'm doing here. We got Alex Perez versus, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. I've heard it pronounced before, but having to say that over and over is going to be kind of tough for me. So I'm just going to say Sumu. So Perez, Sumu. I'm taking the risk here because Sumu was clearly winning the striking battle the first time they fought. But Perez has a very obvious adjustment available to him, and I think that he will notice that, and I think he will implement it. He has to stop trying to fight Sumu at the end of his punches. I want Perez just pressuring behind combinations, getting underneath the long frame, and turning this into wrestling and scrambling exchanges. Whether he gets the takedown, whether he wins the scrambling exchanges, tire Sumu, wear him down a little bit. Perez averages over 2 takedowns per 15 minutes and has 7 career submissions, so he has grappling experience, he has grappling ability. And while 6 of Sumu's 7 career losses have come from submission, there's the vulnerability that I'm targeting. If Perez can turn this from a long-range kickboxing fight into an ugly MMA fight, clinch, takedown, scramble, submission threats, I think he can absolutely pull the upset off. But at around 184 at the time that I'm filming this, I understand exactly why I'm getting plus money. Okay, it's not like I think he's going to come down here and run through Sumu. We saw how the first fight played out. The interesting part about this fight is that Perez closed at I think minus 200, minus 220 favorite the first time they fought. Now going into this fight, he is plus money. We saw this fight play out, so it makes sense that, he would be at plus money, but he's a veteran. I think the adjustments work. Again, there's that submission grappling vulnerability for Sumu, and I think that's why I'm targeting this fight. I know that it's risky. I know that it could backfire on me, but I like it. I love it. I love for the veteran Alex Perez to get it done. That brings us to the Kai Asakura fight. I've got Asakura by KO. The speed difference is the biggest thing for me here. He's a lot more explosive entering the pocket. He throws very clean, straight combinations, and he's excellent at attacking the body before coming back upstairs. His opponent is incredibly tough. I'll give him that. But he's hittable, and he's willing to just stand ground during exchanges, which is going to be dangerous and eventually lead to his downfall against someone with Asakura's timing and his power. I think Asakura creates damage to the body, freezes the guard a little bit. That creates an opening upstairs, and he just eventually is going to overwhelm him with a sick combination to get a TKO victory in this fight. I'm excited for this one too. I'm a Kai Asakura fan. I think he's a very entertaining fighter, and he's just a fun guy to have on the roster. So Asakura by KO or TKO is my final prediction. We have arrived here at the co-main event, Yan versus Gomez. I'm taking Yan because I trust her distance management, and I trust her counter striking. Okay, Gomez is going to 1-2 pressure. She's going to get into boxing range and turn this into extended exchanges. But in my opinion, Yan is very good at giving ground without really completely surrendering her position. She makes opponents reach and then fires straight counters as they enter. She also mixes her targets well. 21% of her UFC strikes have gone to the legs, which can slow down that forward pressure. The key for Yan is not getting dragged into a phone booth type of fight. Gomez is younger, powerful, and dangerous when combinations start flowing. Yan needs to make this a technical kickboxing fight. Almost a point fight. And, I hate to say that I don't want that, but if that's, if given the matchup, that's kind of what she needs to do, at least at the beginning. Who knows? She can let go a little bit once fatigue sets in, once, everything plays out first, right? But she needs feints. She needs lateral movement, intercepting right hands as they're moving in. She needs low kicks and quick exits. Okay, make Gomez constantly restart her entries instead of letting her build her combinations, fire off a combination, pressure forward, fire off a combination. Yan needs to intercept those with right hands. She needs to throw those leg kicks. I would end a counter right with a leg kick every single time and then just exit quickly and make her reset. And I do think it being in Shanghai matters. Yan made her UFC debut in Shanghai 9 years ago. She's never lost a UFC fight in China, and now she comes back as the Chinese fighter in the co-main event. I'm not saying the crowd magically wins her the fight, right? But in competitive rounds, having thousands of people just cheering and reacting to every clean counter you land can really create momentum for you. And emotionally, I expect Yan to be extremely dialed in for this one. I expect this to be an important fight for her. Not that every fight isn't important, but this is going to be a huge one for her. Ultimately, Gomez is dangerous enough that Yan can't really get careless in there, but stylistically, I think her aggression gives Yan the opportunities that she wants to counter. Yan makes her chase, intercepts her as she's coming forward, wins the cleaner exchanges. Give me Yan by decision. The main event of the evening. I'm going to go against the grain in this main event. I understand why Umar Nurmagomedov is a massive, massive favorite in this fight. I understand that he has more ways to win rounds, but I'm going to be taking Song Yadong by a late round knockout, and there's a very specific path that I see playing out. Umar doesn't necessarily need every shot to become a takedown. Sometimes the purpose is just to get attached to you, a body to a body. Once he's connected, you're now in his realm, you're playing his game. If Umar shoots 10 times and gets 4 takedowns, that sounds like Umar is winning the grappling battle, and he probably is if that's the case. But if Song is immediately building back to his feet, fighting hands, forcing Umar to reshoot, and making every takedown take 20 to 30 seconds of work, those exchanges have a cumulative cost. There's a massive difference between chasing somebody and cutting them off. Song cannot chase Umar. He needs to make the cage smaller. Song doesn't need to out-technique Umar for 25 minutes. He needs Umar to make one bad entry after they've been wrestling for about 18 to 20 minutes. He doesn't need to win this whole fight. He needs to win one moment. Now, the weapon I love in this fight is Song's counter right hand. This is where the knockout can come from. This is where I think it's going to come from. Umar has to eventually cross distance to wrestle. Song is incredibly fast when he plants his feet and fires straight punches through the middle. So what I want out of Song, I want him reading Umar's level changes instead of recklessly initiating. You got to feint, make Umar show the entry, then punish him for entering. Now that could be an uppercut, it could be a short right hand, it could be a combination as Umar disengages from a failed shot, which I could also see happening. Song has 9 career knockout victories. Umar has only been accredited with 2 KO wins himself. Obviously, that's not really his fighting style necessarily. Song's UFC knockdown rate is also substantially higher. Everyone talks about defending Umar's wrestling. I'd be thinking about what Song can do to make Umar's wrestling deteriorate throughout the fight. Dig hooks in underneath the elbow when Umar shells. Attack the body when they separate from the clinch. Make Umar carry Song's weight during wrestling exchanges. Force him to repeatedly re-enter into takedown shots. Because my prediction isn't necessarily that Song catches a completely fresh Umar in round 1. I'm betting on accumulation in this fight. Body shots, failed takedowns, scrambles, hand fighting, physical clinches, pressure, and then suddenly that level change in round 4 just isn't as explosive as it was in round 1. Now, we've seen Umar forced out of his comfort zone before. Merab Dvalishvili gave us important information. Song obviously cannot replicate Merab's wrestling game, and he really should not try to. But Merab demonstrated that Umar can be forced into a more reactive fight when someone continuously pressures him and makes him work through difficult physical exchanges. That's the lesson that Song should borrow from that fight. Not really Merab's technique, but Merab's philosophy. Don't allow Umar to dictate the tempo for 25 minutes. Make him a little bit uncomfortable. Find a way to make him defend. Find a way to make him reset. Make every wrestling exchange physical. And I think it wears him down a little bit. You got to stay explosive. Now, I think, again, I talked about it in the co-main. I think it's relevant that this fight is in Shanghai. Song made his UFC debut in Shanghai as well at 19 years old. He got a finish in the first round. He's now 28, a legitimate top bantamweight. And he's returning to Shanghai. This is the biggest opportunity in his career, probably. I mean, you could have argued that when he fought Sean as well. Song has specifically talked about this week and how much this return really means to him and that he believes beating Umar earns him a title shot. Now, I don't know if that's true. But in a way, it kind of has to. Again, I talked about it in my answering questions video. The bantamweight division is a little bit of a logjam at the top. I think there's going to be people waiting for title shots and don't know what to do with it. It's a tough one currently. Now, imagine round 3. Song stuffs a takedown. The crowd erupts. He lands a right hand. Crowd erupts again. Umar shoots again and Song separates. Now Song starts walking forward. He's got the crowd behind him. He's got the hype behind him. That kind of environment doesn't technically really improve anything about you, but it can feed your confidence and feed the momentum you have in this fight. And I think Song is going to need both of those things to win this fight. I actually think Umar is probably going to win the beginning of this fight. He probably wins round 1. He's probably going to win round 2. He's going to kick at range. He's going to mix in takedowns, make Song hesitant to completely open up with his boxing. But what I will be watching is what those takedowns look like as the fight gets deeper. If Song is forcing Umar onto second and third attempts, getting back to his feet and making Umar repeatedly wrestle him over and over rather than one takedown where he can control him most of the round, that's when I'm getting interested in the fight. Because eventually Umar still has to enter. And late in this fight, I think one of those entries gets slower. Song reads it. He stuffs the initial shot. Umar comes back upright, and then Song unloads on him. Right hand, left hook, whatever. Umar retreats. Song's going to smell blood and doesn't let him reset. Now, this is what I'm begging for Song Yadong. If he gets one of those moments, he's got to go for it. If you sting Umar even a little bit, you have to completely go for it. Now, how much he's going to have left in the gas tank is going to be a big question too. But I don't want to see a situation like when Nate Diaz stung Leon Edwards, and then he kind of just pointed at him and laughed at him and didn't go for it. To this day, I still think that Nate Diaz could have finished that fight. Now he had blood dripping into his eyes. He was probably tired too, but you got to go for it. I would think that even if you're tired let's move back to Song, even if he's tired and he stings Umar late in this fight, the adrenaline, the crowd, the momentum, the confidence, everything is going to build up into him, and he can finish the fight. He can go for it. He can unload and go for it. That's just what I think. I think Shanghai is going to go absolutely insane, and Song Yadong is going to do what very few people believe that he is going to do. Again, Umar might win the first 15, 20 minutes. I'm picking Song Yadong to win the moment that ends the fight. With all that being said, here are my predictions for the entire card, not just the fights that we just talked about. One thing I want to make note of, the opening fight of the day is Cam Nelson at 7-1, making his UFC debut. I'm interested to see this fight and how that plays out. Cam Nelson is a former hockey player turned MMA fighter. So it's very interesting. He's making his UFC debut. He is the slight underdog, but I am picking him in this fight. I'm not going to bet on it. I don't know too much about Cam Nelson, to be quite honest with you. I just found it cool that he was a former hockey player. Another fight, Saruya's fight. I'm hyped for that one. And then that main card's pretty good for a fight night in Shanghai. I think it's a solid card overall. Seeing Asakura fight, Perez fight, then you got Bilal, Hasan. And that main event, I think, is a lot more interesting and entertaining than people are giving it credit for. So overall, this card is pretty interesting. It's pretty fun for fight night. And the only thing I don't like is obviously the start times over here in America. But, let the people in China have their fun, watch their fighters ball out on their home soil. It's interesting. So there are my predictions, and we'll get into my favorite betting plays. So something new we're introducing. Dog of the day, I'm going with Jack Jenkins. I'm not going to do a dog of the day every single time. I'm not going to sell you fake dreams. If I find an underdog on this card that I really like, that'll be my dog of the day, and we can keep track of that record. And something you got to understand, right, with a underdog is they're an underdog for a reason, most likely. There's very few times Vegas gets the odds wrong. So it's going to be an uphill battle, but I see a path to winning for Jack Jenkins that is easy for him to employ, so I'm willing to throw the money on him. So it's going to be something fun. We're not always going to have it, of course, just when I see fit. I really believe in Jack Jenkins in this fight. I really, really believe in him, and there's a chance that he loses. I'm on a generational cold streak when it comes to betting the last two cards in the last two Dana White Contender Series. It's a little bit bad, but Jack Jenkins is my dog of the day, my dirty dog parlay of the day. We're not always going to do this either. I thought it'd just be fun for this card because I really believe in both of these underdogs parlayed together. We got Jack Jenkins at 133 plus 133 and Alex Perez at plus 189. That is a plus 573 parlay altogether. I will be throwing money on that, as well as just Perez money line and just Jenkins money line as well. So I'm kind of going all in on the dogs on this card. I really believe in both of these guys. Now, Perez is a little bit more risky if you want to tail any of these bets. Jack Jenkins, to me, is a very, very solid bet. He could end up losing. He could end up getting finished, but Jack Jenkins is a good dog to throw some money on. Then we got Hawk's pick of the bunch. This is what I will be doing on cards. I will find my favorite prop or money line under minus 200. And we're going Xiaonan at minus 176. That's the odds that I got locked in at. It might have swelled, and I would expect it to swell to above minus 200. I think Xiaonan is a great pick in something if you want a relatively safe pick that is also going to make you a little bit of money, Xiaonan is your play. I personally put $50 on Xiaonan. So, which isn't, that's not a crazy amount of money. I don't like to bet too much money because it's just, then I get too sad when people lose. You know what I mean? It gets dangerous, I could say. Moving on, here's a graphic of Hawks plays of the day. Again, dog of the day, Jenkins. Dirty dog parlay of the day, Jenkins and Perez. Pick of the bunch, Xiaonan. And then some other plays I like. Yan moneyline and Bilal Hasan KO. This is what I am playing on the UFC Shanghai card. During the filming of this video, I have decided I am going to wake up early. I didn't even notice it was 3 a.m. Eastern time, so it's really 2 a.m. Central time. I will be waking up at 1:30 a.m. and watching these fights. God, it's going to be brutal, but it's going to be fun. You got to love and live for moments like this. If I win a little bit of money, my picks and my predictions do right, it's going to make it even more legendary. That is it for me. The Hawk's Nest is a wrap. Thank you guys so much if you watched all the way to this point. I really appreciate it. Share it with your friends. Anyone who loves MMA, tell them about our podcast. Tell them about our show. Drop a like, drop a comment on what your favorite bets are that I picked. You can drop what you bet on. I want to hear it all. I want to interact with you guys. I want to create a good community. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Be good to yourselves.